I opened up my first credit card with Bank of America. I don't recommend doing this, especially because Bank of America is not the most reputable bank. If you look into their history, definitely not the best. And I ended up getting approved instantly for that credit card, and I got approved for $500. That was pretty big for me. I was like, damn, $500? Like, I mean, of course I wouldn't want it to be like a whole lot more because it's a credit card, right? I want to be a big flexer. But it was a start. I didn't do anything special. I just used it every now and then and paid it in full at the end of every month. So I always credit my journey starting to Rich Dad Poor Dad. But like the most impactful book I read early on was I Will Teach You to Be Rich. That book taught me so much practical personal finance to the ball. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, make sure to do yourself one teeny tiny little favor. Make sure to give us a follow because I don't want you to miss out on any of the amazing episodes I got coming on this year. So without further ado, let's get right into this one. And this is going to be if I'm not mistaken, 6-part series of how I got a 750 credit score and 500,000 points by 21. In this series, I'm going to talk about what I learned about for building credit, doing it the DIY way, going to YouTube University, and everything I learned, the mistakes, the good, the bad, the indifferent, everything along the way. So let's get right into this story. We're going to start off with how I really started building my credit, how I got to 700, right? The first 6 months was everything for me because it made me start opening my mind. So let me take you back in the time machine to around mid 2020. This is when it all started. So leading up to this, man, I didn't have any credit cards before. I was never an authorized user. I never had anyone in my family that talked about credit cards to me, or anyone that I was friends with, or anyone in general that really talked to me about credit cards, at least at a high level, especially at what I got going on right now. And so credit cards were pretty foreign to me, especially back then. I didn't even have a credit score, I don't think. And so leading up to this time, now, as I said, this is around mid 2020. We're now in July of 2020. For whatever reason, I don't remember exactly what was going on at that time. I know it was the middle of the pandemic, or at least the pandemic just started. And I was talking about credit with my good friend, and she mentioned this app that she was going to start using. Now, this is step one. There's this app called Self, and Self is a credit builder app. And she was using it to start building her credit. And the way the app works pretty much is that you pretty much pick a time duration. At that time, it was like 12 or 24 months. And then you pick how much you want to pay. And I think the option was like 12, 25, 30 something, and then like 45 or something like that. And I picked the 12-month duration with like the $45 per month plan. And so I picked the 12-month $45 a month plan. And so for me, I wanted to get it done as quickly as possible because I hate having payments. So 12 months was the shortest. I was like, all right. And then $45, I don't know why I picked that one, honestly. I probably could have picked another one. I don't know what the actual options are now. I'm just telling you what I did to build my credit score. I'm not telling you how you should build your credit score. So that's what I did back then. So I started on that. Now this is July. And around that same time, I was also already banking with Bank of America. I had a debit card with them. I had a checking and a savings account with them. I still, up to this point, if you know my story and you watch the series of how I made $20,000 an hour, you would know that I didn't really start learning about entrepreneurship or personal finance until around November of 2020 when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. So now in July, as I said, I just started using this credit builder app as I start building my credit. And the way it works, it's like, as I said, I picked the duration. There's shows up on your credit report, at least at that time, it showed up on my credit report as a self-installment loan. And I would make these monthly payments the way it worked. And then at the end of the 12 month, I was to receive all my money minus the interest. So fast forward a little bit, I ended up paying out like $560 or something like that. And I got like 500 back or 540. And I got 500 back. I forget the exact numbers. You're pretty much paying yourself. And it shows to the credit bureaus that you can make monthly on-time payments, assuming that you pay them every month and on time. And so that's how I started with Self Credit Builder app. That same month, I opened up my first credit card with Bank of America. Now, I don't recommend doing this, especially because Bank of America is not the most reputable bank. If you look into their history, definitely not the best. But that's neither here nor there. This is what I did way back when because I didn't know any better. And I ended up getting approved instantly for that credit card. And I got approved for $500. That was pretty big for me. I was like, damn, $500? Like, I mean, of course I wouldn't want it to be like a whole lot more because it's a credit card, right? I want to be a big flexer. But it was a start. And I knew that it'll eventually go up further. And as I said, at this point in time, I didn't really know anything about points or miles and credit cards. I just knew a little bit about that I needed to have a good credit score. So I wasn't even looking into points, miles, travel partners, status, benefits, whatever. So that was pretty much step 1 and 2. I got the self card in July 2020. And step 2, I ended up getting the Bank of America, I think cashback card, I think it's called, or custom cash rewards card. That's the card I got. And then from there, I didn't do anything special. I just used it every now and then and paid it in full at the end of every month. Used it every now and then, paid it in full every month, now at the end of every month. And with Self, I'll just make sure to make my monthly on-time payments. Now, this went on for about 6 months or 5 months. July, I opened both of the accounts. November is when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and started diving into personal finance and credit stuff. And then in December, I started going on YouTube a ton. I started looking up everything possible that I could around personal finance, around building your credit score, around different credit cards. It's all because I read this one book called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. So I always credit my journey starting to Rich Dad Poor Dad, but like the most impactful book I read early on was I Will Teach You to Be Rich. That book taught me so much practical personal finance. I switched my bank accounts after that. I got a new bank account with Charles Schwab. I got a checkers account with Ally Bank. I started learning about Chase. I started learning about budgeting. If you haven't read that book, I would highly recommend it. And so from there, I started learning about all these things. And in the book, it was talking about the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. And it was a travel card. And it's also a semi-metal. And I was just listening to all the benefits and all the different ways that this guy named Ramit, ways that this guy Ramit was getting points and how he was using those points. And it just really excited me. And so I was like, all right, well, I want to start this. But I knew that card, like the minimum limit for that card is 5,000, right? I only had a credit score of 500. A credit card limit of 500. So I knew I had no business applying for that card. So I was like, all right, what's the most beginner level card that I could get, right? And it was the Chase Freedom Flex card. Now, in the next portion of this series, I'm going to teach you how I got into Chase. But for now, all I did to get to a 700 credit score was literally I opened up the Self credit card app. That's step 1. And then from there, step 2 was I opened up a credit card which was the custom cash rewards card with Bank of America. And that was step number 2. Step number 3, I started learning into personal finance. And then step number 4 is that pretty much I just kept on paying in full on time every month. And that's what helped me get from 0 credit score whatsoever to 700 credit score within 6 months. Now, the next part of the series, this is where it gets really fun. I just want to get the origin out of the way. Because then I'll be telling you about all the different Chase cards. I got the Chase business cards. I got the Amex cards. So make sure to stay tuned for the next episodes. I'm going to teach you how I got what I call the Chase trifecta.